Next up, we have a debate on true decentralization. Is it a meme or a goal we should be striving towards? Who knows? So we have Julien from State Capital, who is arguing on the side that it is a meme. And we have Sebastian from Gnosis, who will be arguing on the side that it is the true goal. So, and Ivan from Aragon, who will be moderating the session.
It's a cool event and a cool stage. That's why I'm returning. Okay. Last time I did a debate, it was Mark versus Paul, and I barely managed to wedge in a word. I'm hoping for the same level of energy here. Okay, let's get into it. True decentralization sounds very loaded. What does it mean? For each of you.
All right, maybe I take it. Chancellor on the brink for second bailout of banks. Rings a bell? Yeah? So that's not just embodied in the Genesis block of Bitcoin, but it really goes back to where this space started. You know, there was a financial crisis. It was largely driven by manipulation of a few old men that, you know, made decisions behind closed doors that got individual people screwed. Some of them lost their homes, their livelihoods, and a lot of the things that they couldn't do anymore because things were frankly fucked up. And we started the movement of building a more transparent world that empowers the individual and not just the governments and the for-profit corporations to be in charge of their money and their data, right? So to me, decentralization matters because I believe in that spirit. I believe in the spirit that we can use decentralized technologies to build a world where the individual does not get absolutely screwed by a bunch of rich old men that get richer for doing so. And I do believe that what we build can contribute to get there. And that's why, at least for me, it's a goal that I wake up in the morning literally every single day pursuing.
Well, first, I think the question, to answer your question, what is decentralization?
What does true decentralization mean? And
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, decentralization, it's, the main goal is about minimizing the risk, right? Saying that this space doesn't have rich people, I think it's not really looking, it's kind of not looking at the space correctly, and saying that this space doesn't have encountered multiple different hacks. It's also not really looking at, I'm not sure if you've been sitting in the space for a long time, or you just joined, but running reg news, I can tell you, a lot of people lost money. Looking at DAOs, I can tell you that the entire DeFi is probably driven by 10 people in terms of governance and delegation of voting power.
So we should keep it going that way?
No, what I'm saying is that if you believe decentralization is better right now than centralization, it's kind of a tough statement because a lot of people lost money. The space is driven by a couple of strong projects, strong leaders and influencers that are making way more money than actually the guys that are working in traditional finance. Traditional finance, you work for many years, you have to climb the stairs, you make 100, 200K, and then you pay the bonus at in March, but you work very hard. Well, here you can ship a meme coin and get $1 billion in your pocket. Have you provided any value back to the community? It's tough. No, but at the end of the day, I think decentralization is giving the opportunity for everyone to be involved in a system and minimizing the risk. That's what we should start with. But saying people don't get rich, think that is pure and transparent, I don't think this is true.
I think one of the challenges is it's hard to measure, and that's why we end up with this, like, you know, some of it is true, some of it is a LARP or a meme. Is there a recipe to distinguish of like who's genuinely gunning for decentralization versus who's LARPing?
Well, look, decentralization came up with the concept, or we tried to build a decentralized system with DAOs. As I mentioned this morning, DAO stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organizations, and where we end up with is Decentralized Autonomous Chaos. So, I mean, that's the point. Like, look, tell me any DAOs that have or still remain or have been actually still providing any value, they all collapse. No one actually mentioned when they build a project anymore. It can be like L2 or anyone, that they're actually building a DAOs. Before, 2 or 3 years ago, it was like, oh, we are actually building a DAO. You should invest. And now everyone is trying to avoid the DAOs. So I think it's tough question because when you raise at high valuation, it's really good for bootstrapping a project. But I would say that most projects that have a token today, they don't actually use it for utility in the protocol, but only for bootstrapping the project. But they don't actually need the token. If you look at the space, not many tokens are actually useful. And the project with the most successful like capital gain or valuation are the ones that actually don't use the token for the protocol. But we also build video tokenomics, so it's useful in a certain way.
I mean, to me, it comes down, it's not a technological question, it comes down to the intent, right? And that's why I think these debates are important. And as Julien was pointing out, if you put the bar at, how can I get to the 200K that, my banker buddies, that, take more coke than I do, make, how can I get there faster? That's the wrong bar, man. Like, that's the wrong game to play. Like, for my perspective, the game is, how can we empower more people on this planet to not get fucked? That's what success means to me. I mean, yes, granted you built Rect HQ and it's kind of funny, but like, talking about it, like, were you around when the DAO got hacked? Like, I took at that moment, 5 ETH of my money, not counting towards the 200K that I make to get to the banker level, but like, to counterattack the network, to spam it, to, stop the draining at the time. To me, really, it's like, now I would love to have that 5 ETH, right? I don't. But so, to me, it all comes down to what is the intent of the people building this space. We have to keep the values up. That's the only thing that makes a difference.
I know how to answer the question. Remove any value or any tokens, you will see the intent of people. The room will be empty here.
Sorry, say again?
Remove the token or the money aspect of whatever we're building, which is called decentralization. There will be not many people left in the industry.
And maybe that's better.
I don't know, I'm asking.
Okay, well,
I'm saying that's better. Like, the people who do not have the right values, they better leave than contributing to some restaking, perp dex, layer 3 RWA bullshit that you could have built literally 10 years ago on SQL. By the way, I'm not shitting on SQL. SQL is fantastic technology. PHP is fantastic technology. Please do use it, right? Like, SQL is fantastic. You could have built restaking and RWAs on SQL. Why didn't you do it? Like, if it's about making more money, don't go with this shitty, like, Web3.js and, like, the EVM is like the shittiest VM you can build it on. If you want to build an RWA perp dex, why don't you? Like, why didn't it happen like 20 years ago? Or why do you bother to work with, like, VMs?
Well, you're asking myself, and now you're against this space, so you're for.
No, I'm asking, like, why, if you take the position that it doesn't matter, why bother with this shit at all? Because it's objectively shitty technology. Why bother with shitty technology instead of building on reliable technology to make even more money?
Well, no, that's the point. Like, if you build in blockchain a token, you actually, the market that you're tapping in is bigger, and you can distribute the value. That's the reason why people will actually use your product. If you use a centralized system, like a centralized DEX, a centralized exchange, people will not actually be incentivized to use the product because they will not have direct incentive for using the product. And so the reason why people like to build blockchain projects is because at the end of the day, they find themselves being directly exposed to the success of the project. It's kind of gambling. The entire space is about gambling because they're actually using the project because they know they'll be exposed to the success of it. And they know that one way or another, they can be either accumulating, like, I'm not saying this is legally correct, but equity of the products, and also dividends and revenues. That's what makes this space interesting for that concept. Not necessarily about the token of the project, but
I'm being triggered. It's not gambling. It's go to market, man.
oh, yeah, it's, of course, of course. I didn't say gambling actually. It's my
Okay,
French accent. I said go to market. That's
Okay, but is your argument then like the API access to New York Stock Exchange is so shitty that we need a new system? Or like, what's your foundation to build on this new paradigm? Like, I outlined mine, like, what is yours? Like, why do you come here and build on Ethereum instead of building on a New York Stock Exchange? Because it's great. Like, you have literally the smartest people for decades have been working on a New York Stock Exchange, their API interfaces, their, real-time settlement systems and so on. We don't even have that. Do we have real-time settlement system? No, we're still talking about single slot finality. We don't even have that yet, right? So we have objectively worse systems, and I've not heard one reason why, we would do that. So if
it was quite easy to turn this guy against the system. I mean, against what we were building, because before I was the guy, and now he's the one.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I think I won.
I think an interesting question in this duality that we're shaping up here is, if you have two systems that are sort of doing the same job functionally, can the decentralized one be more valuable?
Well, again, it's distribution of value, composability. So the point of decentralization, I believe, it's the fact that anyone can be involved without asking permission, and you can also plug and play different type of products in order to leverage on the existing stack and to capture more value. That's the beauty of it, and that's the only reason I think we are better building a decentralized system, but I also truly believe that in order to build a decentralized system, you need a strong centralization of power. I haven't seen any project in the space except two. I think there's only two examples in the space that were started as decentralized system and still operating as decentralized system are Bitcoin and Ethereum. Otherwise, it's all the other projects that I've tried, they all failed because it's toxicity and chaos. And now you have unfortunately, in most of the projects that started as a DAOs or for decentralization's sake, they now have delegation of voting power, which makes them, at the end of the day, even more centralized than a centralized entity. Yeah.
I mean, I agree that you need at least initially a strong founding figure. And I'm certainly one of those who calls for, I wish Vitalik would be even more outspoken on the direction and specific goals of Ethereum, right? I wish Ethereum...
He does it, but online without talking to the foundations.
Yeah, but even there, right? I wish Vitalik would be, more explicit about defining this North Star of Ethereum.
He said the ticker is ETH yesterday on Twitter.
But it doesn't have a head. No, but so I mean, so I admit that we do need some more, at least guidance, at least initially, for a bunch of these projects. But in order for them to really play out, we need some goals. And the question is, to me, is like, you brought this question on value. And I'm like, value, what does that even mean? Like, Julian's position is easy, right? As somebody who's coincidentally also investor, is like, oh, value for the VCs maybe, right? Values for the shareholders. But like, is that the right value to optimize for? Isn't like a lot of the bullshit because we've seen over-optimization for this kind of more bullshit direction? Like, I do think, that a lot of spaces are bad and toxic because we have too much investor mindset. Yeah, so I mean, this whole space started from a kind of cypherpunk directionality, and that got lost, and that is a pity. And a lot of infrastructure would
object. So it's the same. You advocate for having less money when you already have money. That's the point. Like, if you have money, you advocate for less money. If you don't have money, you advocate for money.
No, I'm
not. That's it.
I mean, to me, one point is Ethereum is too money-centric, right? I mean, I think Ethereum could be a way better system if it would be less money-centric, right? So the moneyness of everything we talk about and try to build gets corrupted by the systems. And, flashbots and MEV is a fantastic example. We have tons and tons of infrastructure that is now built around something that, was to make a bit more money somewhere and to democratize access to it. And all of a sudden, it screws up layer 2 scalability solutions, because literally you cannot make based rollups properly happen if you have full centralization of block builder space. That's fucked up.
Yeah,
and that is a direct consequence of too much focus on the money.
You're advocating for decentralizations, but I think you then remove some aspect of that, what makes decentralization. Decentralization also, it's based on game theory. So normally you can be resistant to any criteria or outside attack vectors. And one of the attack vectors could be money. So if you actually truly believe in decentralization, you actually truly believe in game theories, and meaning that it doesn't matter if someone is having too much money or a protocol having too much money, because at the end of the day, it means that your system is wrongly designed. So if you argue that MEV or flashboard or whatever makes the system weak, it's not actually the fault of the MEV, it's the fault of the system being wrongly designed. Because at the end of the day, a strong design, a strong system is a system that doesn't get scared of any external actors.
But that's because you bring game theory in. Like,
well, this is the whole point of blockchain.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Like, game theoretical security is clearly.
So you believe like miners are actually mining the block because they care about value of the block? I mean, the value in the sense of non-monetary value, but it's just because for the art of mining, like.
To finish my sentence, that I would advocate for cryptographic security over crypto-economic security wherever possible.
Blockchain doesn't work because of mathematics. It works
because... Blockchain also works of mathematics. And for example, if we talk about ZK bridges...
It's 50% of maths, 50% of game theory.
So if we talk about, for example, ZK bridges being clearly superior to, more game theoretically protected bridges, that is a clear example of something where cryptographic security, where you prove that something works, is by definition way better than a system that is secured by, crypto-economic security. Do you agree to that?
It depends to how do you scale
like ZK light client bridges, you scale by, just making faster proving system by improving this cryptographic building blocks.
Yeah, but the point is like the blockchain operates thanks to crypto game theories. You cannot make it just purely operating from ZK mathematical proof. You have to have a network to send the distribution of those proof and whatever to run the network. Otherwise, you cannot communicate between each other.
That's right.
So you cannot scale.
That's right.
So you need money.
We should limit the impact of money.
You need to incentivize people to stay here better than hack your system.
No, but Julien, one way is to say, look...
Otherwise, I can just go to your computer and hack it, and I'm incentivized to do so, to break in your house, because I know you have 10 billion in your wallet.
No, but this is a fallacy.
That's why miners don't leave the network, because they are incentivized to stay rather than fork and go somewhere else.
It's a fallacy to say, because we have no better cryptographic building blocks, we need crypto-economic security, and that's what we have today. And then you're leaning all the way and then say, bring this for everything. No, don't. Let's try to reduce the moneyness and build better systems over time and not use the lazy way out. Because to me, the lazy way out is going for weaker trust assumptions. And I want to go for stronger trust assumptions that protect the individual more. And I think we can do that. And luckily, there's a lot of really smart people in this space building that. And I think, we should keep the goalposts high for them and let them build this crazy stuff which makes the world objectively better.
So it's clearly a difficult goal to go after, decentralization. Is it still a worthy pursuit? Should we even if we assume we can't get there, should we still gun for it?
I think it's again, it's not like it's because of my French accent. I think it's more like a religion. It's more like it's a past. It's a way of living. It's a lifestyle, and then because of this lifestyle, we're actually doing and trying very hard to pursue that goal. But by nature, or physically speaking, or mathematically speaking, or whatever you call it, I'm not sure true decentralization can actually exist because of how society is is built. Like,
society is built on fighting entropy, and
yeah, so the point is like in terms of like medium or long-term based, like long-term plan, potentially possible, but then you have AI and all different players. So what is actually true decentralization in a world where human being doesn't actually care so I think it's for us we raise like project like look how many L2s like do we actually need them do we need all those different things it's a tough question most of the product that raise a lot of capital there for a token they don't actually need to use a token and they're not actually creating value and they're not actually making money so but it helps trying to work really hard towards building and shipping and trying to crack new type of technology. Because, for example, like ZK has been around for a long time in fundamental mathematics. But the only way that they were being made applicable in the commercial way was thanks to crypto and blockchain. You know the reason why there was some research about people having those beautiful piece of hardware like software, phones, and etc. The industry that made this possible. If you look at is one industry, it's actually gaming, because of people pouring so much capital into games that NVIDIA graphic cards and GPU, CPU were actually forced to innovate on trying to minimalize and trying to accelerate the technology. So this is the pouring of capital that was actually made it possible, the advancing of technology. And now because maybe of AI, that's the reason why we have AI, and maybe because of the gaming industry back then pouring a lot of capital. So I think decentralization is also a meaningful, let's try to make those piece of mathematics, fundamental mathematics, commercially way, and maybe we can solve some big problems. Yeah.
I mean, to me, to answer it, yes, we should clearly pursue it by all means. And no, it's of course not a lifestyle. You know what is a lifestyle? A lifestyle is to say, I need to get to $200,000 as quickly as possible. That is lifestyle. Decentralization is technology that makes the world a better place.
It does, but I'm saying in practical way.
Well, we're over, but I love the energy that you guys brought to this fireside. Thanks everyone for attending, and thank you too.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.